You are recording, I know that. I'll edit all this out.
You always say that and never do it.
I know. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Skeptic Fence Show. Tonight's guest is Hemant Mehta. Many of you know him from his popular blog, The Friendly Atheist, on Patheos, of course, and it's friendlyatheist.com, and his YouTube channel, youtube.com/user/the atheist voice. Hemant, welcome to the Skeptic Fence Show. It's a pleasure to have you tonight.
Thanks, guys. Glad to be here.
Absolutely. And I think, Paul, I think you have a little bio here.
Yes, absolutely. We had Hemant Mehta. I already screwed up his name. I'm sorry. Hemant Mehta.
That's it. I'm out.
I practiced it multiple times before you came on, and then right in the moment, of course, I'm going to screw up the last name. Hemant Mehta is a math teacher, author, blogger, and atheist activist from Chicago, Illinois. He graduated from the University of Chicago. University of Illinois at Chicago in 2004 with a double degree in math and biology, and began teaching in 2007. While attending the University of Illinois at Chicago, Hemant established the secular student group Students Without Religious Dogma, or SWORD, and later served as board chair for the Secular Student Alliance. In 2010, he acquired a master's degree in math education from DePaul University and a national board certification in teaching in 2012. As a vocal advocate of building an atheist community, Hemant's activism includes fundraising for charitable causes and discussions in which he challenges religious believers with straight talk in a non-confrontational fashion. Hemant has been invited to speak at atheist events such as the Reason Rally and the American Atheist Annual Convention as well. In July of 2003, Hemant held an open discussion at the Oak Hills Church to explain frustration over repetitious arguments for God, and was a guest on CNN in August to discuss the rise of atheism among the millennial generation. The Atheist Voice YouTube channel was created to provide a platform for discussion for atheist leaders, authors, bloggers, activists, and everyone else who is passionate about atheism and secularism in 2013 as well. Currently, Hemant teaches high school math in Naperville, Illinois, and is the chair of the Foundation Beyond Belief. He is a regular speaker at free thought and skeptical events around the U.S. and attempts to build bridges of understanding between believers and non-believers through his Patheos blog, The Friendly Atheist.
Thanks, Paul, for that. Anything? Would you like to add anything to that, Hemant?
That was awesome. Thank you. I know I didn't write that, so that was really nice.
Paul does our bios and stuff like that, so he does a really good job on that stuff. So,
no, you covered all the big things. Thank you.
My opening question here, before we get on to the real question, is why do you think it takes more faith to be an atheist?
Oh my God, that's one of those questions that we all get so much. It doesn't take more faith. Oh my God, it takes faith. It's one of those questions people only ask when they have no other arguments to use. No, it doesn't take some leap of faith to be an atheist. It takes an honest look at the world. And you need, I mean, for someone to say, oh, you need faith to be an atheist, but, oh, Jesus rising from the dead, I got that one covered. It's a really strange question.
No, absolutely. So I want to open up with a little joke right there. But
ask about Pascal's wager next.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Now, my first question is a basic question I ask all our guests: is give us a little background on who Hemant Mehta is. What religion were you raised in, and how you came to reason? What was the journey like?
Yeah, I was born in Jainism, which is a smaller Indian religion. And the weird thing is, I never heard about it growing up. But when I started reading the New Atheist books, Sam Harris's End of Faith, Richard Dawkins stuff, they actually said, moderate religion is bad because it provides a cover for all the fundamentalist religions. But I think Sam Harris even said in the End of Faith, if everyone was fundamentalist Jain, we would all be better off.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the reason is Jainism is all about nonviolence. That's like the top dogma. But at the same time, they believe in reincarnation and karma and heaven and hell. And those were the things I couldn't get behind. So when I started thinking about this stuff for the first time when I was like 13 or 14, it stopped making sense. And I basically took the leap from Jainism, which actually doesn't believe in God, but they believe in all the other supernatural things.
Yeah.
I took the leap from Jainism to atheism without all the supernatural stuff. And I never really explored any other religions. I never had a need to. So it wasn't until after college when I started exploring all these other religions, trying to educate myself about them and firsthand going to churches and seeing what they had there. But that's where I started blogging from. That's where I started writing about this stuff. And so I guess one of the good things is I don't have a lot of religious baggage that I think a lot of atheists do, because my religion wasn't that bad growing up. But it's one of those things. Every now and then I meet someone who used to be a Jain, and you give each other just a knowing, like, yeah, I know what you went through. I know what you had to memorize growing up. So that's kind of how I came to atheism. And it wasn't until well after college when I started doing the writing and really getting more actively involved with different groups.
Well, let's expand on that. What you're writing. Why the Friendly Atheist site?
Why the name or why the blog?
Why the blog? Why the name? Yeah.
The blog started because I did this really strange experiment where I said, I've never been to a Christian church. I will go to a Christian church on eBay to the highest bidder. And the money was donated, but long story short, I ended up making a deal with this pastor who won the auction. I said I would visit a bunch of Christian churches and write about it on his ministry's blog. And I did that. And it was really cool. Like, he actually had good commenters. There was actually constructive criticism when people didn't like what I said. And it was really neat to write something, get immediate feedback, and have it be good. And so even when I was done with that experiment, I was like, oh, I kind of want to still talk and write about atheism publicly. Yeah. And let's see if I can keep that going. And that's where the site began. And the title came from the fact that every time you heard about atheists in the news, it was always angry atheists, militant atheists. It's never smiling atheists or anything like that.
It's never coctopus either. I'm really upset about that.
Well, you got to change that. and that's where the name came from. It wasn't because I'm friendly and no one else is. It's more of hey, if you want to say the site's name, you're going to have to say those two words together.
No, definitely, and you do a hell of a job with that blog, man. There's no doubt, man. I love it, man. I probably go to, I swear, probably like every day just to check out because you post so many times. So you post so many times there. I love your stories. So actually, one story we're going to be covering from your page this week on the show. So it's going to be awesome.
Thank you.
And I'm going to cut that out because this show means, forget it. But that being said, with atheism, my next question is: do you think it'd be more productive promoting humanism over atheism, since atheism seems to be the most hated demographic out there?
Yeah, I mean, believe me, you can use whatever label you want. It's more or less the same thing in the way I live and stuff like that.
No atheism plus here, okay, please.
What is that?
No atheism plus stuff here, okay? No, I'm just kidding.
But they're not wrong either. I mean, all of those values have the same sort of, we're all coming from the same place. So, I mean, I essentially use I don't really care about the terminology, and anyone who reads the site knows none of that matters. It's more about, what are you doing? Okay, you're an atheist, that's fine. What are you doing with that? Because, I don't know, personally, you don't need to convince me God doesn't exist anymore. That's a boring question because I've already answered it for myself. So I guess I'm interested now in, okay, I'm an atheist. What can I do with that? That's why I work with a group called Foundation Beyond Belief, because it's all about how do you get atheists to give to charity? Because we don't have the vehicle that a lot of religious people do. Fighting for LGBT rights. I mean, if you think we're all interconnected, if you think that religion is bad, I mean, it seems kind of obvious that you should be fighting for, marriage equality and things like that, because the only obstacle right now are religious people. So extensions of that, I think, is kind of expanding on this humanism, this idea. But you know what? If you don't like the terminology, if you don't call yourself an atheist or a humanist, I don't really give a shit. Do whatever you want. Exactly. I want you to be an atheist, and I think these are logical extensions of that.
No, I agree with what you say. I'm like, when people ask me, like, what's my affiliation, like, when it comes to religion, I just tell them, I'm an atheist. Well, they say, well, what do you think about, women's reproductive rights, stuff like that, or abortion? Yeah. I'm like, well, I'm a humanist then. That's when we're talking about my humanism then. Right. But, like, one thing I want to, put out there is, there's many religious people that don't wear their religion on their sleeves when it comes to doing good works for humanity, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think, I think there's a boundary there where, there are probably majority of the Christians want to do good and they do donate to charities and stuff like that. So
and
maybe religious,
but it does. One of the things we do with Foundation Beyond Belief is that we give money to those religious people who are doing good things without proselytizing.
That's perfect. I love it.
Yeah. And that's one of the options we give our donors. We say, look, here's 5 charities that are all great. One of them is run by religious people. We'll tell you which one it is. And if you want to give to them, you would be doing a good thing. Because you're right, religious people totally have the ability to do these awesome things without saying you have to believe in Jesus.
I'm a believer,
first.
yeah, correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Great, excellent. My next question in here, and I got two more, and then I'll switch over to. I guess I'll go to TJ for the next one. Actually, no, I'm gonna switch it up. Yeah, well, I'll go to TJ. My next question is: as a school teacher, do you ever feel the fear of losing your job due to your activism, or even being an atheist, an open atheist?
I've been really lucky for a couple reasons. One is I teach math. Religion doesn't really come up in the classroom. Even if the kids know what I do in my spare time, it really doesn't come up. And plus, they have other things going on in their lives. They don't really care about, my theological beliefs. The other thing is I have an administration that's been really supportive. They're very much professional and by the book. They know I do this in my spare time, so they don't bother me because they shouldn't. Because what does it have to do with my, work during the school day? So I'm fortunate that they know what the law is, and they're not going to harass me because what are they going to say? I teach math during the school day. I do my activism stuff when I'm not at school. There's nothing to complain about. And in fact, in the 7 years I've been teaching, I don't think any parent has raised any legitimate complaints about anything I did with my activism. Because what are they going to say? The only thing they are allowed to really complain about is how I teach math. And I think they're okay with how I teach math. So I really haven't had any problems.
Well, I think, not saying you're lucky, but I know there's a couple of people out there that are open atheists that I think one, I don't know what grappling ignorance's issue is there, TJ. Do you remember? Something happened?
Well, I know a lot of teachers are not nearly as lucky, and they have administrators that, try to push them out because they're atheists and things like that. Like I said, I've been really fortunate that the people I work with are professionals.
Well, good for you for coming out and not being afraid of telling people what you do and stuff like that. I think that's great.
I wish I could say that was heroic on my part, but I don't think I had a choice. I was out long before I got hired as a teacher.
Oh, okay. Because I'm just saying, I think that takes a lot of balls, man. Like I don't even tell people where I work.
It does, especially for people who live in the South, who live in rural areas. It's hard.
I'm in New Jersey. I'm afraid to tell people where I work, like my job and everything. Well, they know my work, but they don't know where I work. Put it that way. My last question before I pass you over to TJ is this: what are your thoughts? What's your thoughts on what's going on with the biblical type of genocide taking place in Gaza?
I'll be honest with you. My expertise not in that area. It basically boils down to stop fighting. Why are you fighting each other? So I'm the wrong guy to ask about all that stuff, and I don't write about it for that reason.
Okay. So that being said, TJ, I'll pass over to you.
How you doing, Hemant?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Look, on this show, I'm known for asking like the really hard-hitting questions, like the tough ones. So I hope you can bear with me here and try and hang in there. Here we go. Can you give me 8 reasons why Seventh-day Adventists hate the number 666 in under 5 minutes?
Oh dear God.
No, is that I take that as
I'll pass.
Pass. All right. Okay. I'll move on to the next hard-hitting question. What is the most frequent criticism you receive through comments on your blogs and videos?
You're not very friendly, are you? That's the one.
Really?
Yeah, and they think that, the site says Friendly Atheist, therefore stop being critical of religion. Like, that's not what it means. Okay. I hope, if anything, people who read the site find me approachable. I hope anyone who watches the YouTube channel thinks to themselves, I could get a drink with that guy and we could talk about this stuff. And I'm not worried he's just going to, just be mad the whole time. Because, there are people on YouTube who are just like, oh my God, if I ever met this person, they would just scream at me the entire time.
Oh, yeah.
And that happens. Yeah. But it doesn't mean you can't criticize bad ideas. And I don't hold back on that if I think it's warranted. So, but that's probably the one thing I get often.
I get told to take my glasses off and move out of my mom's basement, faggot.
yeah, you do get that a lot.
That's what I get told.
I like how your mom has skull and crossbones in the background.
Yes,
yeah.
She decorates. She's pretty metal. All right. All right. Next question. What's the most circular argument that you hear from theists besides the presuppositional and Bible proves the Bible?
That's the one I was gonna say. I'll be honest with you. I actually don't hear from a lot of Christians who want to argue about the Bible, because it tends not to be. That's not what I write about. I'm not trying to make arguments, philosophical arguments for or against God or anything like that. So I don't get those emails. Usually, when Christians write me, it's because they agree with me. So somehow I've managed to avoid a lot of the types of mail I know a lot of other bloggers, people on YouTube get.
So how many people do you ban a day, Christians? No, I'm just kidding.
Do I ban from the
I'm
site
just
or
messing
something?
with you. I'm just joking with you.
I don't really get a lot of hate mail. I really don't get a lot of spam either from people. It's strange because when I talk to other people, they get a ton of it. I don't know.
How many people do you think you've helped to deconvert, or, you know, with your material?
It's not insignificant. I mean, I only know based on people who write me and tell me that I've helped, but I do get those emails a couple times a week from people who said I played a part in helping them deconvert. I think most people who change their minds, one, it's not going to happen really quickly, and it's not going to happen because of one thing I wrote or one thing I said. So it's not like they can attribute it to me or you or whatever. But I do get several emails frequently from people who said, you know, I watched your stuff for years. You helped me with that transition, and just saying nice things, thanking me for that. I mean, so that's always really nice.
Yeah, it's like so you're planting these seeds of doubt, and it's deconversion. They go through stages when you deconvert. So,
and unlike some,
you
know, evangelists, I'm not keeping a running tally mark on the back of my wall or anything.
Correct.
Like
yeah.
So.
But it's nice to hear from people like that, I think, right?
Yeah. Oh, it's great to hear from people like that, especially when they've come from just ridiculous backgrounds. I mean, my religious background isn't really that bad, but you hear from people who came from really fundamentalist places and became atheists, and it's like, wow, I can't believe I helped you do that. That's great.
Definitely. Now, do you think that you can be convinced that your current beliefs are wrong? Like, is there a certain amount of biblical evidence or anything like that that anyone could show you that you think would change you into a Christian or a theist of whichever kind they like?
I'm not going to say no to that, but at this point, I feel like I've pretty much heard it all. I would be very surprised if there was some new argument someone was going to share with me that would really change my mind. But again, I'm not going to tell you I'm totally close to the fact, but I think, you know, it's the same thing I've heard from a lot of atheists, which is they will have Christians try to argue with them, try to convince them God exists. And they're like, no, I got this argument for you. It's totally going to convince you. And it's like Pascal's wager. It's like, we've heard it. We've all heard it a bunch of times. We've thought about it. It's not new. You're not giving me anything new to work with.
It's hard to come up with really good arguments when you never challenge the things that you believe in the first place, you know?
And what's amazing is some people who are religious, they really do think like arguments like that are going to win people over, or that thing you opened the show with, well, it takes more faith to be an atheist. Like, that's so not a good argument for anything.
On Fox News, they actually used the argument like childbirth. It's like, how can you be an atheist if with childbirth? And I'm like, what?
It's a miracle that only happens like whatever millions of times a year.
A miracle. Miracle.
It's painful shit. All right, and my last question, and I'll pass you off to, I guess, who's next, Drew?
Yeah, we'll do Drew next.
All right, and then so, what is the most annoying argument or response that you get to, like, when you have a coherent argument or a coherent point? What's the most annoying thing that people come at you with? And it's similar to the circular argument one, but what's just the plain most annoying argument you get for theism? Like I've had people tell me they hate like I can just feel it, or it's spiritual, or whatever.
They felt it. It's anecdotal. They've had the experience that I'm covering up for something I'm missing in my life. Like I have a God-shaped hole in my heart, that sort of thing. Like if you just open your mind, your mind, you will get it. It's like, my mind is open. My brain's not falling out. That's the difference.
I am so going to write a song called A God-Shaped Hole in My Heart.
Do it.
And I'm going to make a lot of money off Christians.
It's not already a country song that way?
I hope not, because it's mine now. Drew's Googling it as we speak.
Do it, right?
All right. Well, thank you very much for being on the show, answering our questions, dealing with our bullshit. So,
thanks. And by the way, if you had a God-shaped hole in your heart would be just fine.
Wow. Very nice.
That's a good one.
All right.
Good
Have a good one, man.
Thanks. Good. All right.
No, but really though, we need to Google that so we can lock it down and get some royalties for that.
I called it
the bassist.
No, we'll give you partial royalties, okay? Because you were here for it.
We'll split it 5 ways.
I was just thinking the lamest argument for Christianity or whatever would probably, and I figure a guy like you would probably get this a lot, just simply John 3:16.
Yeah. It's like Jesus sacrificed for you, and therefore it's like, yeah, all right, well, when you show me the body or whatever, how come people don't like doubting Thomas when in the Bible he's like, give me the evidence? I like that. That's a good guy.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
The first question I wanted to ask you is because you mentioned that you deconverted from Jainism.
Yeah.
And one of the things I wanted to know is how that went over specifically with your family.
Yeah.
Because I know most of us, we come from a Christian background, and it's usually pretty harsh. But my understanding is that Jainism is way more mellow. So I was curious about that.
Yeah, my understanding was that Jainism was when you just were a groupie of that band, Jane's Addiction.
Not far from the truth. My parents, you know what? I think it all happened like my freshman year of high school, but I didn't tell them anything until like my second year of college. And I think by that time they kind of had an idea, so it wasn't a big shock. And what were they going to do? I wasn't even living at home at the time. So it wasn't as bad as it could have been. But even today, I mean, it's been, 15, 16 years since all that happened. We pretty much, we get along really well, but we don't really talk about religion anymore. They totally know what I do in my spare time. They know about the website and all that stuff, but we really don't talk about religion. So that's pretty much it. We don't talk about it too much, but we get along just fine.
No, because it does seem to me like, because you said it's, I guess you would call it non-theistic. I guess you would say Jainism is.
It's a non-theistic religion.
Yeah. So it seemed, at least to me, coming from a Christian background, that it was probably a lot smoother in those regards.
Maybe. I mean, if you ask my parents if they believe in God, they will tell you the answer is yes, which is weird because Jainism theologically doesn't have a God. But I don't think they know that. And I don't think a lot of the people they associate with in the Jain community know that. I don't know what's up with that. But I mean, I don't think it made it any easier. But they didn't take it as bad as other parents have.
Oh, cool. Another question I wanted to ask is, it seems that while millennials are dropping religion statistically, it seems like a lot of them are keeping those supernatural beliefs. Yeah. And I was wondering if that's kind of what you've seen.
Yeah, I don't think everyone's rushing out to become atheists as much as we would love to see that. I think what you're seeing more of is young people who are just fed up with what they're hearing in their church. The anti-gay rhetoric, anti-women, anti-science, anti-everything. They still believe in God, but they just don't want to be called a Christian because it's embarrassing to them. So they end up saying, "No, I'm not a Christian, but I follow Jesus. I'm not religious, but I'm spiritual." So they hold these beliefs, but they're not labeling themselves with the Christian label, which also messes up all the data because you always hear about the nuns and the people who are non-religious. And the truth is, most of those people are pretty religious. So until you really block out just the atheists, you don't really get a clear sense of what people are thinking.
Yeah,
it's definitely a big step in the right direction to go away from like organized religion.
I'm thrilled. I wish more people would do it.
Yeah, it's a big step in thinking outside the box for sure.
If you're not labeling yourselves a Christian, odds are you're willing to hear those other points of view that might slide you even further.
One thing I want to add here real quick. I was talking to one of my helpers the other day. Sorry, Drew, and you can go on after this because I got an issue with this. I think the youth demographic, which is 18 to 39, which is the highest demographic now that is non-affiliated, non-religious to nuns or whatever.
Yeah.
I think that's a huge plus, and we should really be pushing those statistics because reason being, I'll give you an example here. I got a helper at work, Dominic, a really nice kid, and religion came up. It wasn't me. It wasn't by me. This guy came up and said he was born again Christian, and this kid just came up to me just all of a sudden. They didn't even provoke him. I didn't say nothing. And he goes, religion. He goes, who the fuck believes in religion anymore? Religion is shit. He goes, nobody believes in religion anymore. He goes, everybody's an atheist nowadays. He goes, all my friends, we don't believe in that shit. Right. This is like a Guido type of kid, like Guido type, kid. I'm just like, I'm not saying that, not saying Guidos are all like, but I'm just saying, he just said, he's like, who the fuck believes in religion? And he said that's old people stuff. So I think
even in the classroom, if it ever comes up, and like I said, it really never comes up, but kids talk, and the reaction to my atheism is more or less who really cares? It's not a big deal to them. You don't have to brace yourself for it anymore. at least in some places.
Yeah, but I think if we keep on sticking with the hatred religion has on certain issues like, abortion, women's reproductive rights, teaching creationism, I think we're doing our job. And
and you know what? It's funny when you it's one of the reasons when the evangelical church, for example, really hammers down on the one man, one woman marriage, gay people are sinners, etc. When they say all that, I hate it because I know how much it hurts the LGBT community. But at the same time, you know what? When they keep saying that, they're hurting themselves, and people want to leave their church, and I kind of like that.
No, so exactly. Yeah,
gonna go both ways.
Go ahead, Joe. Sorry.
No, I agree with that completely, because it always seemed to me like I think a lot of people are starting to see religion, especially Christianity in America, as just one big prohibition on just like all like the fun shit and bullshit tolerance.
Not just on fun shit, but like on dumb things that have no business being prohibited. That's the problem. If they said, don't do drugs or something, I kind of get where they're coming from.
Yeah, of course.
When they say don't be gay or birth control is automatically an abortion, it's an abortifacient or something, they're just factually wrong.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, they're not going to be able to get away with that.
Oh, but they have.
They're trying.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the whole point of doing what we all do, and he does too. I say a larger level, you probably reach a larger audience than we do, but that's why it's important to do these things, I think.
Yeah.
Another question I wanted to ask you, moving along, we've seen some backlash over the secular student clubs in the past few years, but overall, are we seeing a big progression? Is it becoming more tolerant? And the second part of that question is, what kind of resistance are we seeing?
Yes, they're more widespread. They're more widespread at the high school level. And I think it's to the point where, look, there's no legal reason to stop a group from forming. They can't stop a group from forming at the high school. If your high school has a drama club, it can have an atheist club. And I think administrators realize that. And they also, what I've tried to educate kids to do, document it as if you're trying to form a club. Make sure you keep the emails. Make sure you get everything in writing, basically. But even at the college level, they've been very receptive. I mean, there's not a lot of, big colleges left that don't have a group, which is great. But you're not seeing a lot of resistance anymore. And when you do see resistance, it's in the news, as it should be, because they would never not allow, a Christian club to form. So, I'm seeing it grow. I'm not seeing a lot of resistance. And in fact, the cool thing that I'm seeing now is that groups are forming, but what's more important is they're stable. And that's really important because at the college level and high school level, you maybe have one person who's a great leader, who gets it all started, really keeps it going. Then they graduate and the group dies away. And what you're seeing now is a lot more stability with these groups where they know how to transition and they know how to pass that leadership along to the next generation, and they think about it before they graduate. All of that's important. Christians know how to do that. Like, there's no Campus Crusade for Christ group that's like going to fade away within a year because they forgot, how to think about what happens after they graduate. We're getting better at that.
Oh, awesome.
Good.
Absolutely. Before I pass you along to Paul here, just one more thing to say. Dude, on your CNN, when you were on that Faces of Faith segment, coming blatantly out on like nationwide news and stating Christianity is untrue. Thank you so much for that.
No problem.
There needs to be so much more of that. It's ridiculous. But thank you for doing your part.
There's not a lot of opportunities for that, but it's nice that they allowed us to talk. I mean, you realize you only get like maybe 10, 15 seconds.
Yeah, you don't get too much time
talking, so you really got to make sure you cram in all those things you want to say.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to pass you on to Paul here.
Sounds good.
Hi, Hemant.
Hello.
Good to talk. Good to have you on the show. I've been subscribed to your YouTube channel for a while, and one of the things I wanted to ask you, as a high school math teacher, have you heard anything really unbelievable from students, such as along the lines of the pastor from Questioning Darwin who said, well, if the book said 2 + 2 = 5, I'd believe it. Have you heard anything like that?
I don't know if my students tend to know I'm an atheist because they talk to each other, not because I ever say it. But I don't know if my religious students, and I have had very religious students in the classroom, they either don't bring it up or they know, like, why would they argue with me about that? It really hasn't come up, and I haven't heard any students make an issue of it in the classroom. I think they know there's mutual respect, and I'm only interested, I'm interested in their math abilities. And if they show me they can do the work I need, cool, we're on good terms. I've never had a student who really wanted to like challenge me and have a debate with me on this stuff. I would like to say that's because I don't really invite a debate. But at the same time, I'm a teacher, they're a student. Maybe they're afraid. I don't know. But it hasn't happened.
But let me real quick, Paul. Would you debate anybody if they asked you?
With the students?
No, just in general. Just like a debate, say with.
I am very hesitant to
do. Kate.
Yeah, no, I'm very hesitant to do a public debate just because personally, it's not an efficient use of my time.
It's not your cup of tea. Gotcha.
It's not my thing. And other atheists do it very well. I like when Dillahunty does it. He's good at it. It's not my thing. If it's a one-on-one, we're getting coffee or something, I don't mind having that conversation with somebody, and that's fine. But it doesn't happen that much. Most of the people who know me pretty much know where I stand. It's not a surprise to anybody. So it doesn't happen that often.
They actually probably have about 20 reasons why.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but I think
it doesn't come up that much.
But I think it's great. You do good. What you do great. You do perfect. You're good at that. You don't like the debate scene. Some other people like Dillahunty likes the debate scene. They like talking to the Christians on their show and stuff like that. Yeah. We were just more of a laid back show type of thing, But
yeah, and again, most of the stuff I write on my website anyway, and even most of the videos on YouTube, I would hope, for the most part, that religious people watching it would say, "Yeah, I agree with that."
Yeah.
I don't think I'm really making any arguments that they would disagree with. And to be honest with you, I don't care about, like, hey, if you believe in God, but you support, all the social issues that I care about, and, you have a good heart and stuff. I don't really care that you believe in God. So I don't focus on that. I focus on getting people to that point. So usually the people I'm debating, if anything, what are they going to debate me on? We pretty much agree on the same stuff.
That's why I don't debate anybody anymore, man. I'm like with the humanism type of thing now, the social shit that, religion is pushing into society and shit like that. So that's what this show's mainly about, in politics. Sorry, Paul, go ahead. Your next question.
Well, actually, that shot my next question down because I was going to ask him if he, going along with it, so he's never had a student who's challenged him God is not dead, where they got into a nice heated debate. Wait, he's not.
I've never had a student do that, but you know what? I have had many students tell me privately that they're atheists, and I think they feel comfortable doing that because they know I'm very open about it. And again, I don't care; they're not going to get extra credit or anything.
Right.
But it's like, oh, that's nice that they feel comfortable enough around me to share that really personal thing with me.
Well, let me expand on let me expand on that a little before Paul goes again. Is how far do you go with students when they come out saying they're an atheist? Do you interact with them? Do you talk about atheism with them, or do you just say, "Oh, that's nice," and just leave it at that?
Outside of the classroom, I'm mostly interested in, are they out to other people? Do their parents know? Are they doing okay? Because I know for some kids, that's not an easy thought process to be going with. More or less, they're just like, I've been thinking this. I don't believe in God. And it's like, okay, cool. Like, hey, I'm here if you ever have any questions. If you need to talk to someone, I'm here for you. Let me know. But I think more than anything else, they just kind of want to come out to somebody, and they don't want to be judged for it. And I think they know that if they come out to me, I'm not going to think bad about them. Yeah, so they just feel comfortable. They feel good about just telling someone because they don't always have that opportunity.
I think that's great.
If I may, I'm sorry, right before you go, Paul, I was going to kind of expand on that. What is the school administration like on that? Are they weird about that, or are they like don't
kids talking about that stuff and me talking?
I mean, yeah, kind of conversing with them about that.
Look, if a kid comes up to you and says this personal thing, I don't think anyone is going to be upset if I just talk to them about it outside of class. I am not interested in trying to change anybody's mind about any of this stuff. It's not my role, and again, I take that line between my activism and my professional job. I take that line very seriously. So again, they've never had a problem because it's not like someone comes up to me and says I'm a Christian and I'm arguing with them. And it's not like I'm saying, oh, you're an atheist, let me treat you differently in the classroom.
Exactly.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
That's never happened. It never would happen. So it's never been an issue.
That's great. That's awesome.
It's like Joe asking his employees to pray over car parts.
Yeah.
I got fired. I got fired. I got fired.
I
got fired for being an atheist, man. Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah, but I had no really hard evidence. They found my YouTube channel, my Live Life channel, and yeah, I seen them looking at it, and 3 weeks later, I got fired. So.
Right. And that's happened to other teachers I know too. Not in my school or anything, but yeah, across the country, they'll find a way to push you out if they don't want you there.
Exactly, Paul.
Yeah, and yeah, it was just all joking aside. I'm actually very glad that you keep it separate and that you're willing to talk to the students outside of the classroom, though, because if I had a teacher like you in high school, that actually would have been a lot better.
Well, and you know what? We had a couple kids came up to me at the beginning of the year, last year, and said, we're atheists. We want to start a club for atheists. And again, I'm sure part of me is like, yay, I'm dancing.
Exactly, yeah.
But the other thing is, that's great. You have to handle all of it, because I ain't touching this one with the 10-foot pole.
Hell no.
Yeah.
I will be the faculty sponsor if you need one, but it's got to be someone else who really runs. You guys, the kids, have to run the show, take care of everything.
Absolutely.
My job is there to sign papers. And even when they had meetings during the year, I more or less kept quiet because it's their group. I am just there to facilitate and everything. So yeah, it was nice that they're willing to share that with me.
I have a really quick question. What flavor of baby are you eating right now?
Raw.
Raw. Excellent. All right. Sorry.
He's a real atheist.
I like it a little bit medium rare. Wait.
I like it lightly steamed with oysters.
This one has chipotle sauce or something.
I like the sauce with the Bill
This
Discord.
one's spicy. It might be
Marinated in butter.
Mexican. This one must be a Mexican.
Awesome.
Muy caliente.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry. Go ahead, Paul.
All right. No problem. Actually, that helps, because my next question is, you said that you don't mind cafeteria Christianism as much as fundamentalists, but don't they cause as much problems? I mean, you have fundamentalists who, legislators, of course, who cause problems with their restrictive policies and abortions and everything like that. But there's the moderate Christians, or the cafeteria Christians, who are like, well, I agree with him on that, so I'll go with him on that. So they pick and choose what they agree with, and they vote along that lines, and more about faith than, like, I feel they do damage. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to believing in God, I think you're right. The cafeteria thing, like, at some point, if you know the Bible is wrong on all of these points, or you're interpreting it in a way that seems totally far beyond what a lot of churches do, why not just chuck the whole thing altogether? But at the same time, that's not realistic to think that they're going to stop doing that. So then the question becomes, okay, well, who would you rather be surrounded by? A bunch of cafeteria Christians, or people who really take the Bible literally? A whole bunch of Ken Hams, a whole bunch of these, fundamentalist types of people. I got to say, I'd rather be surrounded by the Obama type of Christians. You know what I mean? Like, okay, they say they're Christian, but the things that they do are more or less in line with the things that I believe. Cool, we're on the same page. Yeah, I wish you would stop pretending that your religion makes you better, or that, God is watching over you. But realistically, if I'm not going to convince you of that, I'm glad you're picking and choosing, and I'm glad you're kind of moving away from the fundamentalist side.
Yeah.
I just think it's more realistic. It's not like I disagree with the Sam Harris type of thing that the moderates are covering the fundamentalists. Okay. But realistically speaking, if everyone's a cafeteria Christian, I think we're all better off.
Like, take what you can get.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
And I think that's starting to show with the acceptance of gay marriage too.
Yeah. Oh my God. Younger Christians that I've talked to, they have no idea. I mean, they know why. They are pissed off at the church elders for being so adamantly against gay marriage, because. Yeah. Yeah, man, give it a few years. When some of these older Christians kind of fade away, retire, do whatever.
Bill O'Reilly's crowd.
Well, yeah, pretty much. When the younger Christians kind of come into power, it's not going to be an issue anymore.
Dude,
it's not.
Gay marriage.
Look at the Pope.
Yeah.
The Pope, this new Pope is pretty, progressive as far as...
He's a lot of talk. He's not a lot of.
He is a lot of talk, but I mean that's what the Pope is. The Pope is not a lot of power. The Pope is a lot of talk. Exactly.
Yeah, he's a figurehead, and he's not taking that hardline approach, even though if he probably still believes it. But even he knows if he has the harsh rhetoric that a lot of Christian pastors do, it's not going to work. You're not going to reach anyone. You have no choice but to adapt.
It's a pretty big sign, that people don't agree with you, and that things are moving in a different direction.
And it's also a big deal when some of these Rick Warren types, who are so
don't
popular,
get me started on him.
When he says something against gay marriage, all these Christians are like, I want nothing to do with Rick Warren. It's not just people like us saying that. It's a lot of other Christians saying that.
Oh, of course, of course there are. Yeah.
And you know what? Actually, now that I see your point, I really do hope that more of the fundamentalist legislators come out and do more stupid comments so that we know who they are.
Oh, I love that shit.
I like that. It's like, oh my God, I can't believe I voted for this person. I can't believe that person represents my faith. You want nothing to do with them, and more importantly, I hope it's like, oh, I can't even call myself a Christian anymore.
But the funny thing about that is, Hemant, is they're becoming more extreme in their views.
Yeah,
you know, especially DOMA being overturned.
The ones who get elected. Yeah, you're right. They are further to the right and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But all the demographic trends that I've seen show that it's not like younger people are all going along with them. This is an older crowd. They're the ones who get out and vote. Younger people don't vote.
Which is part of the problem.
This is not a group of people that's going to be very successful for very long. I used to think, when Obama got elected, it's like, oh my God, the way things are going, they're never going to elect a Republican president again. And it's possible that could happen in 2016. But at some point, if things keep going the way they are, it's like, you can't even be a Republican very soon and say I oppose gay marriage, because you will lose everyone who's going to vote. And they know that. They are starting to all switch slowly. I think, I don't know if it was today or yesterday, like the 8th Republican congressperson said, I support marriage equality. And I think we're up to 3 Republican senators or something. But even they realized, like, I need to get on board with this, otherwise I'm going to be voted out.
Well, we need to fix SCOTUS, so that's an issue.
Yeah. That's the SCOTUS. Supreme Court Republicans.
You're right, SCOTUS. I forgot. I fucked that up.
Yep. It's the Supreme Court Republicans of the United States.
I forgot about that.
Oh, I always thought SCOTUS because scrotum, douchebag, dickbags, whatever.
Paul, you got any more questions?
That was my and that actually goes along with mine. Do you have a problem with firebrands? Do you think they hurt the discussion between non-believers and believers, or do you think they can actually be helpful in the discussion?
It depends what they're doing. I used to have a bigger problem. I really don't have a huge problem anymore, because there are people that my approach will never reach, and sometimes you need the Bill O'Reilly type to really shake you up and say, no, stop believing the stupid stuff you believe. They're not going to listen if you're polite about it. You need to be blunt. At the same time, there are people, the way they say it, the tone that they use, pushes away more people than it brings in. That's what worries me. I don't think someone like Christopher Hitchens, when he talked, I think he was a firebrand, but I think the way he said it, it's like, if you disagree with him, go ahead and disagree with him. Tell him why he's wrong. He'll listen to you. But he was so not, he was very blunt about the way he said it. I think that's the firebrand approach I can really get behind. If you're just yelling and saying, all Christians are stupid, and, why would you have to be an idiot to believe any of this? It might reach some people, but it's probably more people are just going to watch you and say, why do I want to be part of your crowd? I don't want anything to do with that. I think that's a problem. But again, that's not a firebrand issue. That's just what tone are you using? What are you trying to accomplish? Who do you think your audience is?
Yeah, I understand completely, and I'm sorry that you're doing that on purpose now.
I'm pretty sure everyone just checked their Skype about 1,000 times.
Right.
All right.
Oh,
awesome.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah, and I thank you for that clarification, because the difference between Hitchens and someone ranting like some people on YouTube do,
there are ranters on YouTube.
ranting. Yes, I can understand where you mean on that, and that
one of the ways I heard it put really well is sometimes you need those firebrands who will basically force a bitter pill down your throat, but you also need some people who will give those people water to help them swallow it down. because they're not just going to swallow it wholesale. So I don't mind the people who kind of are in your face about it. It's not my approach. It doesn't work personally. But they do reach a different crowd of people, and that's good. But I worry that sometimes that approach just turns more people away. I mean, it's like Pat Robertson, Jerry Falwell. They have so many followers, but I don't know if you can really make an argument that they've done more good than harm for Christianity. I think they've done more harm on the whole. And I think if you ask most Christians, would you like to have, Pat Robertson as your spokesperson? They'll say no.
They'll say macaroni and cheese. What is that? A black thing?
Damn, what the fuck? Oh my God.
Aside.
Paul, you got any more questions? Are you good or?
No. If you have more questions, I will pass it off to you guys.
All right, Drew. I think we got 2 more questions left, Hemant, and then we should be good here. So Drew, and then me, and then we'll end it here. I think we're good. Drew.
Now, I was going to ask, because you sold your soul on eBay. I'm just kind of curious how much you get for something like that.
What I sold ended up selling for over $500. I'm pretty sure, though, if I were to do that today, eBay would yank it, because I don't think they allow you to sell body parts, and they consider it a body part.
Wow. Oh, are you kidding me?
Serious. So thankfully, what I was selling was not literally my soul. It was like my time. But that's what I heard, that eBay doesn't allow you to sell your soul because it's not a tangible good.
Wow, that's too...
It's the body part.
I'm actually really glad I asked that question now.
Did I stop your money-making scheme?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
One second.
I don't know how I'm going to do rent this week.
Yeah, you sold your time on eBay.
I sold my time to go to church. I said I would go to church service for the highest bidder. Like every $10 they gave, I'd go to a church service. And somehow that auction morphed into I'm selling my soul.
Okay.
I have no idea who coined that. It wasn't me, but we ran with it.
Oh, dude, that's a good coining.
Yeah.
I've actually seen eBay stories where people sold like little vials of water, like with food coloring in it.
Oh, of course.
And they called them ghosts, and they sold for like $2,700.
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Like
that's a true story.
I didn't think of it first. So
yeah, wasn't it the lady with Jesus on the grilled cheese sandwich? It was like 23,000 or something.
And I think that sold too, legit. I think it did.
George Zimmerman
did selling a product. So
George Zimmerman's painting was like over $100,000.
And he copied it anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
Wait a minute! Didn't I see a video on your YouTube channel with a dog's anus? And it was about this topic of people seeing...
Yeah, we talked about people who see Jesus. Yeah. They see faces of Jesus in all of these different things. And no, there's a psychological reason you see faces in so many things. It doesn't mean it's actually there. Doesn't mean God's sending you a sign. We're just evolved to see faces in everything.
Yeah,
I've seen the flying spaghetti in my... I've seen the flying spaghetti monster in my cat's anus when I've waken up.
That's real. That's real. The Jesus stuff, though, no.
Yeah.
I see Paul's face every time I look at my dog's ass because it's also really hairy.
All right.
Yeah. All right. Well, I got I should say the last question here, and it's going to be this. Hemant is. I think it's a pretty serious one here. So I want you to expand a little bit on this if you can.
Okay.
What advice would you give to the youth when it comes to coming out as an atheist and/or becoming an activist like yourself?
I want them to come out as an atheist. If they don't feel comfortable doing that publicly, then don't. Find a community. If there's almost certainly like a meetup group in your area or a high school or college group, see if you can find a way to their meetings. If you can't, go on Reddit. Go on some online forum where you could talk about this stuff and you could do it anonymously. I think the important thing is you are never the only atheist in the room. And it totally helps to have other people you could talk about this stuff with. And that was such a huge deal for me, like being able to have a club in college where I could meet other people who thought like me. That was the first time that ever happened. Now you have all of these forums where you can hear other atheists talk and read their books or whatever. But again, if you're living in a home where you don't want to be seen with a book or you don't want anyone to catch you watching those videos or something, there are still ways where you could talk to other atheists and just find that community, find it online, reach out to people like you guys on your show or myself or whatever, because we'll point you in the right direction if you need it. But there are so many ways to do it. I think the important thing is to show people. Don't be afraid of coming out if you feel safe about it. You know, if your parents are going to kick you out of the house because you're an atheist, don't come out. That's stupid. Don't do that.
Yeah. Exactly.
Do it in a way you feel safe and comfortable with it.
I totally agree, and I'm part of a website. Well, it's called meetup.com, and it's wonderful. I go probably once a month to these meetups locally, and you just type in your zip code and meet up with like-minded people, and it's great. And that's a good stepping stone.
I thought you were going to say Christian mingle.
Same here.
It was cock mingle.
Hide mine.
No, seriously, meetup.com. It's awesome. I went to 2 meetings so far in the last few months, only 2, but yeah, they're great, nice people, and it's it's really great. So I think that's a good stepping stone if you want to come out of the closet as atheists.
People in your area who might be like-minded. That's a good thing. That helps.
No, absolutely. So, Hemant, thank you very much, man. I really do appreciate your time and coming out, and hanging out with us for a little bit.
My pleasure. Thank you, guys.
Everybody, tonight's guest was Hemant Mehta. Many of you know him, of course, as the Friendly Atheist on Patheos, friendlyatheist.com, and his YouTube channel is youtube.com/user/The Atheist Voice, or just search The Atheist Voice. Thank you very much, sir. I do appreciate your time, and it was a fun time indeed.
All right. Thank you, guys. Have a good one.
Thanks, Hemant. Take care.
You too. Thank you, buddy.
Bye.